What's good, everyone? This your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room. So, a little while ago, Trump posted a congratulations to the peace situation between Israel and Iran. And he posted on Truth Social. Yes, I am a subscriber to Truth Social. I just want you guys to see this and things like that. Hold on here. I'm going to blow the screen up just a little bit so you guys can see, saying what Donald Trump wrote and things like that. They're going to read it in the Fox News special that I'm going to play for you guys with the vice president. So I just want you to see this on Truth Social that it's there on Truth Social and things like that. So you won't, think that this is a game. So yeah, I am a subscriber to Truth Social. I do follow, Donald Trump on there and others. So, all right, we're about to go here now and we're about to check this out. Let's see here. Quarters, nickels, and dimes, people.
What happened with Iran in the Middle East and some breaking news coming just now. Joining us this evening, Vice President J.D. Vance. Mr. Vice President, thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Just seconds ago, the president went to Truth Social and typed this. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire. Complete and total ceasefire is what he typed.
Yep.
What does that mean? How did it come about? What's the development here?
Well, we were actually working on that just as I left the White House to come over here. So that's good news that the president was able to get that across the finish line. I think what it means, Brett, is quite simple. First of all, the president, without, knock on wood, having a single American casualty, obliterated the Iranian nuclear program. We are now in a place where we weren't a week ago. A week ago, Iran was very close to having a nuclear weapon. Now, Iran is incapable of building a nuclear weapon with the equipment they have because we destroyed it. So that's a very, very big thing. Now, what that means, I think, is we have to talk to Iran and, of course, to Israel about what the future holds. Because while we have obliterated the Iranian nuclear program, our hope and our expectation is that they're not going to try to rebuild that program. And I think that's what the president is really trying to figure out here, is to build a long-term settlement here to where we can have peace in the region, where our regional allies and, of course, the American people, most importantly, can be secured, but where we can ensure that the destruction of the Iranian nuclear program that has already happened is not something they try to rebuild.
I want to get to the obliterated part.
Now, I get that point right there, but at the same time, though, too, I definitely would like to, just put this out there in the air. Now, just because people may agree or things like that doesn't mean that people will not do things on the back end or under the table or something like that. It would have to be strategical things put in place to make sure that Iran is not going to, try to rebuild their nuclear program as far as, creating missiles and things like that, nuclear missiles. It's going to have to be, boots on the ground at some point. And I don't mean soldiers. I mean, like, maybe strategical people that get placed inside of that, society to kind of watch over and stuff like that. But see, this is the point right here. Like, will Iran allow something like that, kind of like eyes on them, to make sure that they don't try to, do that again? Or if they don't allow it, will we, sneak people in or something? Like, I mean, spies. I'm just asking questions here.
In just a minute, but I just want to read this fully so I get the context here. Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their in-progress final missions for 12 hours, at which point, the ceasefire for 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire, and upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful on the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will. I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless Israel. God bless Iran. God bless Iran. God bless the Middle East. God bless the United States of America, and God bless the world. He seems confident that this is all coming together.
That's right.
And when you left the White House, were you thinking this was all gelling here?
When I left the White House, I thought that we might be able to get it across the finish line before this broadcast, and it looks like the president has been able to do that. I mean, look, he's been working the phones constantly. Frankly, before the 12-day war started, but certainly over the past 12 days, the president's been extremely clear about America's national objective here. It is to create a world where Iran cannot build a nuclear weapon. We, of course, destroyed the nuclear program that they had, and the president told the entire team, we're going to work to make sure that they don't try to rebuild that nuclear capability in the future. And it's, look, this is a great thing. For Israel, think about this. They've accomplished an important military objective. They've helped us destroy the Iranian nuclear program. They've also destroyed the conventional missile capability of Iran that threatened the country of Israel. For the Iranians, I think this is a new opportunity to actually pursue the path of peace. As I said yesterday, what the Iranians have showed through their support of terror networks, through their now failed effort to build a nuclear weapon, is that they're just not very good at war. And I think the president really hit the reset button and said, look, let's actually produce long-term peace for the region. That's always been his goal. I actually think when we look back, we will say the 12-day war was an important reset moment for the entire region.
Would you be surprised if Iran is sending out signals that it doesn't have a specific ceasefire plan? How would the communication have been with the Iranians to get this level of confidence to put out that detailed statement?
Well, one of the things I've learned, Brett, about the Iranians in the past, 4 or 5 months that I've been in this job is what they say publicly and privately can sometimes be very different. I think what the Iranians have shown very clearly is they don't want this war to go on for much longer. Their air defenses have been totally destroyed. Their conventional missile program has been largely destroyed. And of course, their nuclear program has been obliterated, as I said before. So I think the Iranians are at a place where they don't want to keep on fighting. You saw the president, and I don't have the truth in front of me, but he talked about the next 6 hours finalizing the attacks. I mean, what I think what he's talking about is right now, for the American people watching, it's dark over there. That's typically when the Israelis and the Iranians have been shooting at each other. I think there's some recognition that that might continue for another few hours. And tomorrow really is a new day, the end of the 12-day war, the end of the Iranian nuclear program. And I really do believe the beginning of something very big for peace in the Middle East.
So at this point right here, technically, they're trying to put something in place or have put something in place and things like that. Maybe the tail end of this war is still, which is crazy to me also, that they still will be maybe firing, a couple of missiles here and there. That's still crazy, from what JD is saying. But the thing of this is that if Iran wants an actual ceasefire too, and Israel wants the ceasefire, then they need to come together and they need to go ahead on and get that done. Now, I know that Iran's nuclear situation was specifically at first for, having power for the country. We have nuclear plants and stuff like that over here in America. That's how our power works. Lights all over America and stuff like that. Energy, to power a lot of stuff, through our nuclear plants. But we do have, enrichment of, the nuclear situation to where we can have nuclear bombs and other types of things. But this is the case here. In that region for the longest, nobody really wanted Iran to have that type of, superpower and stuff like that. But the problem is that, that type of particular regime that's in power right now, they were doing egregious things throughout, the history and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying that, the rest of the world hasn't done egregious things as well, but it just is what it is at this point. We really don't, want Iran to continue with that type of power like that.
You said totally obliterated. The president has said totally obliterated the Iran nuclear program.
Yeah.
Do you know for sure where all the highly enriched uranium is?
Well, Brett, I think that's actually not the question before us. The question before us is, can Iran enrich the uranium to a weapons grade level? And can they convert that fuel to a nuclear weapon? And we know, based on the success of our mission, of course, the leadership of the president, but the incredible skill of our military, that the two mission objectives are completely successful. We know that they cannot build a nuclear weapon. Now, you asked about the highly enriched uranium.
Yeah, like 900.
Okay. So, what I'm saying, JD is saying that they know 100% that Iran cannot build a nuclear weapon. My question here is have they already maybe done that? Now, I'm not saying they've stockpiled anything. I'm saying maybe they got to a point to where they created one or something like that, like under the table. I'm just throwing questions out here because I'm really asking questions. Is that possible that they could have, snuck one under the table and enrich the uranium and made sure that they at least got one up under their belt somewhere? Like, I mean, I'm just asking the questions.
100 pounds of it.
But what we know, Brett, is that in uranium is something that exists in very large supply. Our goal was to bury the uranium, and I do think the uranium is buried, but our goal was to eliminate the enrichment and eliminate their ability to convert that enriched fuel into a nuclear weapon. I think this is an important point, Brett, because so many of the folks who have focused on the highly enriched uranium,
60%.
The main focus, Brett, has been to destroy their enrichment capacity because we don't want that 60% uranium to become 90% uranium. That's the real concern, and that's what was so successful about our mission.
So,
okay, so you know what I'm saying? We're gonna go here now, and this is the case. Like I said, though, have they already had the program in place long enough to maybe enrich the uranium to maybe get one nuclear situation here? And I'm asking the question, get down in the comments, let me know. Of course, I don't know, if you're part of the military, things like that, give me your opinions on what you think about this type of scenario. But it's just the truth, though. Have they had that program in place long enough in order to be able to enrich the uranium to maybe get one? Because, see, this is the issue here. All you need is one, technically. In that type of dire situation, with that type of mindset of the way that regime runs the country and stuff like that. And, I did my broadcast, on my channel about, the people that, were from that country and stuff like that. And they're talking about how really horrible the conditions are. The men and the women are there oppressed and stuff like that. Go back on my channel and you'll see my broadcast, but it is what it is here. I'm wondering if they were able to maybe sneak one under the radar. That's just my question. But clearly here, JD saying that, the program and stuff was completely destroyed, maybe before they were able to, galvanize that situation and put that, enrichment to the uranium. I mean,
And what the French coast is there to think about?
So this is where we at right here. Apparently, there is a ceasefire that's in place between Israel and Iran, and the war's allegedly over, which in my mind it can't just necessarily be a war if it never really got started, but it technically it kind of was a war, definitely with Israel and Iran. But yeah, questions need to be asked, answers need to be had. And we need to know, definitely that our soldiers in the region are going to be completely safe, that this situation has been totally, put to rest, that Iran is, now on board with, trying to lay their ambitions of gathering, nuclear power in the world is put to rest and things like that. We need to know tangibly that this is the facts. And this is what Iran is, going to do. They're going to lay down their nuclear program. So, we got to stay tuned. Keep in mind, this is crazy out here. So, let's keep this thing going. Let's stay in tune. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. But it is what it is, though. Shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say,
and that, my friends, is the bottom line.
That, my friends, is the bottom line.